Thor Love and Thunder is now playing in movie theaters all around the world, and I got to check it out today on Friday, July 8th, opening day, which is really cool for me because it's the first time I've ever seen a movie on opening day, so that's a pretty cool experience right there. And because it is opening day, and usually I don't see these movies until they come out on Disney Plus and just do the one big spoiler review, I put a poll out on the channel to see if you guys wanted just that one big spoiler review, or if you wanted that spoiler review and the non-spoiler review, which is exactly what this is going to be. So if you have not yet seen Thor Love and Thunder, no worries, there's not going to be any spoilers here, so keep that in mind in the comment section below. No spoilers, spoiler-free discussion. You can let me know your own thoughts and reviews, spoiler-free, in the comments as well. But we're just going to talk about this movie, you know. There's not going to be much structure to this. It's kind of just going to be me rambling about my thoughts and feelings, non-spoiler, on Thor Love and Thunder, because this is a movie that I just had a lot of fun with, but it's definitely not going to be for everybody. And I watched a lot of reviews prior to watching the film from critics and stuff, and you know, there's definitely going to be some mixed feelings. Some people are going to love this movie, some people are going to not be the biggest fans, and I've seen those pretty diverse opinions so far. And you know, when it comes to this, at least with expectations, definitely don't go into it expecting it to be like some crazy Oscar-worthy story and all that stuff. Like, it's a good movie, but it's nothing like that. It's definitely a comedy. Now, a rom-com, a romantic comedy, I don't know if I'd say that. I mean, Taika Waititi and the rest of the cast have been describing this film as a rom-com, and there's definitely elements of it. Of course, literally the movie is called Love and Thunder, and so it is kind of a focal point of this movie is that romance between Jane Foster, Mighty Thor, and Chris Hemsworth's Thor, and so that's part of it, and you do have some romantic comedy elements here, but it's definitely not as much of a focus as I thought it would be, considering that it's been pitched as, a rom-com, but it's not really playing that huge of a role. But even beside those two characters in that one relationship at the center, there's some other, I don't know if I'd say romances, but at least some other love in the air, I guess you could say. So I did really enjoy that. I always love romantic comedies, so I love seeing it here, especially seeing the return of Jane Foster after all these years, and seeing Natalie Portman back in the role. Of course, she is an amazing actress. They didn't reinvent her character, which I'm cool with, because they didn't do what Taika Waititi did in Ragnarok with Thor and completely changed him up and made him super comedic. Jane Foster was pretty much how she was the last time we saw her in Thor the Dark World, which was great, but now, of course, she has Mjolnir, and she has become the Mighty Thor. We also have the whole cancer storyline from the comics, which is, you know, I do wish they maybe gave a little more screen time to that and developed that story a little further, but what we did get of it, I really enjoyed. I liked what we saw. Chris Hemsworth as Thor, of course, is great as always. He is hilarious. We also have Tessa Thompson making a return as Valkyrie, and this is one I was a little disappointed in because I feel like she didn't do much in this movie. Like, she was very, very underutilized, so hopefully she gets used more in the future. Who knows, maybe even gets her own spin-off project. We also have Korg as well. Taika Waititi, of course, doing the voice of Korg. Amazing, hilarious as always. I feel like he was better used in Thor Ragnarok, but still cool, interesting use of the character in this film, and he has some developments as well towards the end, so they were pretty interesting. But we gotta talk about our villain here. So we have Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher, which is just absolutely insane that we have Christian Bale in the MCU as a villain like Gore the God Butcher. And this is one that I know a lot of people were concerned about when we first saw him, and like, oh, it's not comics accurate and like all that stuff. But honestly, who cares? Like, this is a great villain. Taika Waititi has said that, oh, he's gonna be one of the best MCU villains, and I mean, I don't know if I'd say top 5, but definitely top 10. Like, this was a great character and a great villain because he has such an interesting ideology, and that was something I was a little concerned about since the beginning of just hearing about this character that he was going to be in this movie, and just his whole ideology of basically like, you know, he prays to the gods for help in saving his family. They don't answer those prayers, so then all of a sudden he decides like, oh, I have to kill all the gods. I was always kind of confused by that, but the opening scene of that movie shows kind of that origin of Gore the God Butcher, and they really, really help to show kind of the justifiable nature, well, not really making it justified, but at least from his perspective, you can see why he's doing it. And I really did enjoy that. Of course, Christian Bale, amazing actor, and you really see that he brings that to the table here. He was both creepy and terrifying, but also kind of hilarious. I mean, he had some moments where he was like, I don't know, just like really giddy and exciting and like gleeful. But again, like he was super duper scary at the same time. I mean, like traveling through shadows, just seeing like his glowing eyes in the darkness. Of course, using all black, the Necro Sword. There was some really, really cool stuff going on there with Gore the God Butcher. Now, we also have the Guardians of the Galaxy in here. They're not in it too much, so don't expect much there. But what we did get was nice, a nice reminder of like, hey, those characters are there. Get excited for their holiday special later this year. And also, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 next year. The goats, space goats. What's not to love? I mean, their screaming did get a little bit annoying at times, but you know, other than that, not too bad. We also have Russell Crowe as Zeus in here. He was surprisingly really funny as well, and not exactly used in the way that I thought he would be, but definitely very interesting. And I'd say that's pretty much like all the main characters that we can talk about, at least non-spoiler wise. But let's talk about just the film overall. So one of the biggest complaints I've been seeing about Thor Love and Thunder is just that it doesn't take itself seriously. There's too much comedy. And, you know, parts of it I agree with it. Parts of it I don't. Because, you know, it's like I said, it's definitely a comedy. It's got that Taika Waititi humor in here. Some of it is some very lowbrow, almost child level humor that wasn't really always landing. But for the most part, I thought it was hilarious. It was a great movie. It was really, really funny. And, you know, watching all those reviews, seeing people criticize how, like, oh, the comedy takes away from these serious moments. But I felt like all the serious moments still felt really serious. And that's honestly, I think, in part due to the music. Just like the music and the score in this film was amazing and really helped empower some of these really serious, emotional moments. Because you do have those really emotional moments, not only with the love stuff going on here, but also well, other stuff I can't talk about since it's non-spoiler, but yeah, it was just, I feel like they did a nice balance between the two. There was a couple times that the comedy kind of went a little overboard, but for the most part, it didn't bother me too much. But, I mean, like I said, the score was amazing, the visuals were just so beautiful. There were a couple moments that were a bit green screeny, but for the most part, I enjoyed it. I mean, it was a great movie. There was, like, of course, the ending is one part that obviously I'm not going to spoil it, but all I'm going to say is that it was very unexpected. It wasn't where I thought it would go, but I actually love the ending, and it gets me really, really excited for the future, and kind of plays into the whole rom-com aspect, but I don't know, I just really liked it. And of course, we do have 2 post-credit scenes here as well. So if you're not aware of that, stay tuned for both those 2 post-credit scenes. They're both super important. The first one sets up Thor 5. The second one, I don't really know what or if it's setting anything up, but I still loved it. And also another thing I do want to mention is that a lot of people have been saying like, oh, don't get hyped up for cameos or anything like that. But honestly, like, there's some pretty big cameos in here. Well, not like big cameos, but like from the past Thor movies. If you're a fan of these Thor movies, just be watching for this film, because there's characters that pop up that I didn't know were going to be in this movie that I definitely, you know, put a smile on my face to see them pop up, even if it was just a little brief appearance. But it was still awesome. It was still really, really cool. And Thor Love and Thunder overall was just a lot of fun. It was a great experience. Again, not like a crazy, like, Oscar-winning story or movie or anything like that, but it was a lot of fun. And I think it might be my favorite. I think, actually, yeah, it definitely is my favorite film of Phase 4. Spider-Man No Way Home, though. I don't know. It's hard. It's a tough decision. Actually, finally, my last final point. Like I said, kind of an unorganized video all over the place. But another thing, to kind of close this off. Thor Ragnarok versus Thor Love and Thunder. This is the big thing that everybody's talking about, that everybody's been asking about, like, is it better? Is it on par? Is it not as good? In my opinion, I think that Thor Ragnarok is still better, but that by no means means that this movie is not good. I still loved it. I still really enjoyed it. I just do think that Thor Ragnarok was a little bit better. Some of the characters like Korg and Valkyrie in this movie were just utilized and were just better brought to life in Thor Ragnarok. But anyways, guys, that is my non-spoiler review for Marvel Studios' Thor Love and Thunder. Again, you can let me know your own thoughts on this film in the comments below. Non-spoiler, no spoilers. I will be doing, of course, a full spoiler review and breakdown. That will be most likely coming tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. But for now, guys, thanks you so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button. It's like keep you up to date on everything goes on in the Marvel life.